we got robbed in Brazil by gunpoint, and I handled the whole thing myself. I was in Brazil with my dad and my 2 girls. We were waiting outside for the school bus for my nephew. And then when I looked forward, there was a guy with a gun in my head. And he says to me, everybody goes inside right now. There's 4 guys inside the house and all with guns. So I go to the robbers and I was like, you guys come with me. I'll give you the cash that I have. I don't want you touching anybody. I don't want any cops showing up, and you don't want it either. And my dad is with the kids downstairs sitting on the couch with a guy holding a gun towards them.
Okay, I have to tell you, I had like an epiphany on the boat with all the Brazilians. I sat down and I was like, when I came home, I sat down and I was like, I feel so inspired by the energy and the openness and just like the joy of life that you guys have.
Yeah.
And you don't realize, you know, a lot of us, we are exposed to cultures, but when you're like in a surrounding like that with friends, oh my God, I have goosebumps. Like I came back so...
The Brazilians, they can be in like depressed. They can be any situation. They will be like smiling and dancing, and they will be like in the higher spirit. It's the weirdest thing. You can go through anything in life, and then you just switch on music, and then suddenly like everybody's happy
and nothing
dancing,
matters.
like nothing
but
matters.
What is it? Like, is there where does it come from?
I think it's part of the culture for sure. Like I remember growing up, and like even small, my mom used to take us out to dance. It's like it's part of the culture. It's just dancing and happy. And even if you go in like poor neighborhoods in Brazil,
yeah,
they always play music around, and they always having so much fun. I think it's part of the culture.
It honestly really made me like really emotional, and my word for this year is pleasure and joy, because
I love that.
I know how to do hustle and work, like all of that I know how to do, but it's the enjoying and pleasure that is harder for me. So can you imagine like the combination of the word of the year and then being in that situation? I was like,
and then you see it.
The universe is speaking to me. That's why I said yes for Brazil. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and you know what happens too, when we get together, we become even more silly, and we like just acting stupid the whole time. But that's what we are. Like we have like, I feel like Brazilians, when they get together, it's kind of like just joy and pleasure, and like, okay, let's drink, let's dance, let's eat,
and like
everything.
No one's taking themselves too seriously. You know, that's really cool. So I was thinking, okay, I'm sitting there, I've seen, because you know me, I like to analyze. I sit, I observe, which I know you do too, and I'm like, I do see a lot of commonalities between Russians and Brazilians. There's some girl codes that work.
Yeah.
So first of all is the appearance. I feel like Brazilians, your standard of beauty is high.
But the Russians too, like you guys are beauty. But I think
like
us, we don't have
ways.
that beauty, but we have a little spiciness.
Yes,
we have like a little
sexy.
sexiness and like charm. Like the Russians, you also do, but you're a little like it's rough, not rough, but like you have the beauty. You have like,
but it's like you can't touch it,
the hair, the eye, but
right. It's like a little removed. Where Brazilians, it's more like it's effortless and it's playful.
It's sexy. Like we spicy. It's like.
Is it something that you just see when you saw when you were growing up, or is there certain things like lessons that your mom would kind of instill in you?
I don't know.
Up?
I think it comes with us. I think it's the country, so it's like the heat, the quality of life. Like people are always out and about. Like we always half naked, so it's just like we embrace what we have. And I think when you have the confidence and when you have like the self-awareness, that it's like, okay, like I have small boobs, but I still like feel it a little bit. I like it. So I think it's a little of the self-confidence plus the way we grow up. We just like accept ourselves and we embrace it.
But that's crazy.
And that's sexy.
That's super sexy. And that's why I was like so stuck trying to understand, where I do find that every Brazilian that I've met, mostly, unless she's very young, I remember kind of like my early modeling days, everyone is confidence with like high beauty standards. I feel like that's kind of like, how does that work?
But it's not like confidence at all times. Of course we have like bad days and good days, but I feel like when we are in our safe zone, when we're in our environment, we feel comfortable and we're like, okay, I can just embrace myself and I can be like, for example, that day I was dancing my bikini, like I don't care if my butt is like moving then different, like I don't think nobody's really checking, so it's fine.
Okay, inspired. Another thing that was so fascinating to me, which I do find similarity as well, is the kind of sisterhood. The difference though is that Russian, you really have to like break through to create that really, you know, a ride or die, where Brazilians, they're open from the get-go.
Yeah, but also the Russians, I feel like Vita, she will fight for me. Yeah. Like she will go and like go in a deep fight if anything happens. Like if anybody upsets me or something, I know she's ready to like
no, they're devoted, but it takes a while to get through. 100%. Where Brazilians is like open arms.
Yeah, we're very open arms. But I don't know, like me, I will also fight for my friends and everything else, but I don't know if everybody will. Like they're very open arms and like, okay, let's have fun. But if shit hits the fan, I don't know who's gonna be there.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like my friends, I've been friends with them for a long time, so I know they will. But don't be fooled by the Brazilians at all times, you know? Everybody's happy.
That's why I'm asking, because I'm like, there must be something, you know, because I see the similarities, but I wonder if it's like inside once you're in, if it feels the same.
But everybody's there for the party. But not everybody's there for like the moments that you really, really need.
Yeah. What's the most Brazilian thing about you?
I think the way I raise my kids. I'm very similar to my mother, and I'm very similar to my friends that are mother, my sisters and everybody. We're not easy. We're like tough moms. So I think tough love. Yeah. Very like tough and like put your legs down, do this, do that, like behave properly. I think that Brazilian moms are a little tougher than American moms. But
you are now, because how long have you been in Miami?
I've been in Miami for 10 years.
10 years. In the US, you've been?
I've been in the US for 14.
Okay, so you have enough, you've been here long enough to kind of get the North American way of living. Because even for me, I come from also a pretty strict background. But I have to tell you, with the gentle parenting, like sometimes it messes me up where I have to like snap back and be like, girl, this is not what we're doing. Like, don't let this affect, you know, the way you raise the kids. Do you not have that where it kind of seeps through?
I mean, sometimes I have more patience than my mom used to have. Like I sit down, I have conversations and this and that. But most of the times I'm like, okay, enough. Let's go. Like, let's cut this out. But I think that's a very Brazilian thing. And then also like open doors. Like we have a very like warm environment always that I'm like, okay, come for lunch. And then if someone else come, okay, we have food. Even though if we don't have, we'll make shit up, you know? Like, so I think it's a very like warm, like welcoming. I'm always welcoming people. And I think that's a Brazilian thing.
So I feel like for the girls, it's nice to... You get kind of the strict and hard, but then you also see a lot of warmth in the lifestyle.
For sure.
When you became a mom and you started raising and parenting, did you and Dave have kind of like different ideas?
We still have. Every day we have different ideas.
I mean, it's natural.
Don't you guys have that too? Like
always.
Every day. But the thing is, my girls, it's bad to say, but my girls, they know, even if he says yes, they have to check with me. Because they like, mommy is the one that says yes or no, and mommy knows what's best for us. Yeah. Because he would just say yes to please them and be like, yes, that's fine. And then they come to me, I'm like, no. And they're like, okay, mommy, that's okay.
So they don't use this.
They don't use the yes from him. Okay. Yeah. Even yesterday, my daughter came between us and she's like, can I have ice cream? And then he said, yeah, for sure. And I was like, no, you can't. And she looked at me and she's like, okay, mommy, I'll wait after lunch. And like, she knows that she's not meant to be having ice cream at 9 a.m. in the morning, but she still tried him. And
I love that he doesn't, he knows also, he knows what's up.
Yeah, and he doesn't even fight because he knows in the end I'm the one that calls the shots.
I love
that's what it is.
When you were dating, did you feel like the dating etiquette in Brazil was different from like North America? Because I know the Russians.
Very different. I don't know how the Russian men are, but I never met never dated a Russian
Man.
married a Russian man. But in Brazil, the men are like, oh my God, you're the most beautiful thing in the whole world. You're my only one, blah, blah, blah. And then like 5 minutes later, they text another girl and then they sing another girl.
Right.
It's just like the Brazilian man, I've had really bad experiences. And I don't think I could ever trust the Brazilian man. But the American men, I think they at least don't have that swag and like the way to get away with things. Like you can like find out or like things like that.
They're not as slick.
So yeah. So in the beginning, like I really like believe in my husband. I was like, okay, like you say I'm beautiful and this and that, like, but a Brazilian man, I don't trust them at all.
But do you have the same kind of thing where, let's say, a man in Brazil, a man pays for the day, like that's not even a conversation. Like all of those kind of rules that are just
So my
unspoken.
mom, when I started dating, when I was like a teenager, but my mom said if a man on the first date is already asking you to pay the check, in few months you're gonna pay for his whole life, so run away from it.
That's straight up
So
fact, Isabella.
the first date a man is to pay for it, and then like you see the condition or whatever it is, but that first date, even if it's like just walk on the park and get an ice cream, they have to pay for it.
I'll fight anybody that says differently, because I truly believe, like, in order for us to keep society and procreation happening, like that's just a rule. I don't care what. And I remember I was talking to Gary and I was like, well, what if a man can take, out for a nice whatever dinner? You can just go out on the park. And he's like, if you have time, if you don't have money to take out to eat and you can go in a park, you shouldn't be going on a walk in the park, you should go to work and then figure that out, like for him, because he's such a traditional Eastern European.
And I love traditions. I think traditions are there for a reason. Like I love things to be set properly, like a date is a date. And then I also love like marriages. I love like everything that comes with the tradition. I love.
I know. I feel like it's important to keep it alive, because secretly, even though society's changing and so many things are like evolving, which is wonderful, I do feel it's like a foundational thing that I want to have in my life, and I want my kids to kind of have
me
it.
too, for
Not
sure.
everything has to be like redefined, Some things are just
I want my girls to have like, first date, get engaged properly, have a white dress and walk down the aisle. I think it's beautiful.
I know. I usually don't hate online because I don't think that's the right thing to do, but I did see a video, a woman going down on one knee and proposing to a guy, and I'm like, no.
No,
call your mom
on.
No.
No, I don't want.
I stand very
it's okay for a woman to talk and like speak up, but like know exactly what you want for you. But I think there's things that you can just like maybe put a little note and say, hey, I would love to marry you one day. Hey, this is the ring I like.
Seed, but
or
you don't do
come to my store and with him and say like, oh, this is the diamonds that I like, and then like put like little things on their mind, and if it doesn't come, you run away. I'm sorry.
That is truly the power of a woman. I think that so many of us, and I had this conversation over the weekend with my girlfriends, we were all sitting being like, so many women don't realize their power, because it doesn't have to be loud power.
Yes,
it's
100%.
Silent but strong.
Yes, you get your message without even like screaming or asking for anything. You just like say it softly, and then you get what you want.
Always.
Right?
Always.
And if you don't get it, you run away. You're like,
some people call it manipulation, but I find that that's just, it's like planting seeds. It's all done for the greater good, Okay, guys, let's chat real quick about today's sponsor, Moonbird. As you guys know, I recently had a surgery, and while I was recovering from my surgery, something that I've learned is that I really don't know how to relax, like at all. When I should have been resting in bed, just like the doctor told me, and taking things slow, I found it to be a great time to clean out my closet, to reorganize my bathroom, to go through Max's bedroom, getting rid of all the things, maybe some things that we actually needed to keep. It doesn't matter. I was on a roll and I just couldn't sit still to save my life. The only thing that helped me center myself, which is something I really needed, was my Moonbird. So if you never heard of it, this is amazing. It's a handheld breathing device designed to comfortably fit in the palm of your hand. And when you shake it, it starts inflating and deflating, and it basically tells you when it's time to breathe in and breathe out. It honestly feels like you're holding a little bird that's breathing in and breathing out. So the idea is when Moonbird inflates, you breathe in, and when Moonbird deflates, you breathe out. So it's a very nice and simple and takes all the thinking out of your breathing exercises. Now that I can actually breathe, this is a game changer. For someone who has been trying to figure out how to get into that meditative state and really focus, I had a difficult time, trying to really not think about things and feeling stressed and overwhelmed, and my mind is just bouncing from one thing to the next. So this has been a guide for me to settle into thinking about only the action of the inflating and deflating. And it even has a sensor that measures heart rate variability, which is HRV, and coherence. So it's giving you a real-time biofeedback to help you track your body's relaxation and stress levels, so you can see it in the data that you're actually getting the benefits. So if you want to learn more, go to moonbird.life and use code Valeria to get a discount at checkout. That is moonbird.life, LIFE, with code Valeria at checkout.
You know what I hate nowadays? How people waste each other's time. Like, I see a lot of men, they know they're not gonna marry that girl, or they know they don't see a future, but they still like, oh, it's fun for now. I'm like, why are you wasting her time? Like, people's time's so precious, right? Like,
yeah, that's really heartbreaking, especially for women, I have to say, because women put so much of their soul and energy into something. And they say that a woman is give something to a woman and she'll make it grow, she'll multiply it. And I agree with you. When the wrong person is there, women don't see it, so they put all of this on, and then they wake up and later on in life and they're like, I gave everything. So I agree. Even with my older brother, he's dating and stuff, and I'm always like, you went on a date, did you like her? No, you better tell her. There shouldn't be another date.
If you don't like it, let it go. That person will find somebody else that's gonna love her completely, or keep it moving. Don't waste people's time ever.
Also, it's hard for them to navigate the amount of choice that is out there.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They look out and they're like, oh, the grass is always green on the other side. But I always say, choose your person for the personality, right? Because every look changes. Everybody's looks change. Every job change. You have a job when you meet somebody, in 6 months could have another job, or it could open a company, whatever it is. So just choose the person for the personality. Do you like the way her manners, or her heart, or those kind of things, and then go for it.
I got married at 21. How old were you when you were married?
24.
Okay, so we got married really young. And I remember I sat down with this relationship therapist, and she was telling me, I really try to tell people, don't marry young, because you don't really know who you are, which totally makes sense. I mean, our frontal lobe is developed at 26 or 7. So a lot of the choices you make are based on this false identity that you have. How do you, but I mean, me looking back, I don't know. I'm saying God was watching over me.
Yeah, I think the opposite, actually. I think people should marry before the 30s if they find the right person. Because I think after 30s, a lot of things change in your mind, and you're more exactly what you want. You know exactly what you want to be, and you focus so much more on yourself than building a family, or building me on my 30s now. I'm so grateful of my family and everything that I built when I was 20 something. But I think if it was now, I'll be no, I'm so focused on my companies, I'm so focused on everything else. I don't have time for kids. I love my husband, we can be together, but I for example, I don't want a third child right now. Because I passed that moment that I'm so focused on the other things I'm building, right? So I think that 25, 26, 27, those are good ages to really like focus on building a family and like establishing like the family child life. And then
Yeah. You know what? I agree with you because it's harder for you to compromise and to be nimble as you get
100%.
older.
100%. And also, for example, let's say I met David in New York, and I used to live in New York. And my life, I still like had an apartment that was rented, so it was easy for me to move to Miami. I think that if it was like later on in life that I met him, I'll be like, wait, but I do have a stable job. I don't know what my life would have been, right? But I think that later on you're more settled. When you're younger, it's easier to adapt, it's easier to move, it's easier to like, you know, find new friends or like wherever you're going. But I think the later that it goes, and also the later it goes, I'm more picky with things, with friends.
Because you also learn, and that's a realization I had, you also learn exactly what you love and exactly what you don't love and how you want it to look. And it's it's difficult. I mean, I have friends that are older and they're single, and if I'm being honest, if I was in my late 30s and single, I probably wouldn't want to marry because I've already at that point created a life that I love for myself. Like, why would I bring
good
another
with yourself? Like, you don't need like somebody.
It's true. For me, I feel like if I would have didn't marry at 21, I probably wouldn't have married at all. That's my theory. Yeah. My mom was so surprised when I came and I was like, I'm going to get married. She's like, what? I thought you'll never get married.
21 is very early. I mean,
I had no idea.
I was 23, but still, I thought I was so old by then.
Oh, I thought it was so mature. We had kind of
like the same because you also modeling since very early, right?
Yeah. When did you left home?
I was 13. When I left home, I was 14 to 15.
Yeah, it's insane.
So like when I was 23, I was like, I lived, I went all over the world. I'm ready to like settle down.
I know. I left at 16 and when I met Gary at 20 and married at 21, I was like, I feel I experienced enough of that, and I don't want to see that Valeria like have any more years to explore. Like, she needs to stop.
But isn't that funny when we look back on pictures and we like, I had a full baby face. I'm like, oh, it's like a baby bride.
No, it's disturbing. It's just amazing the idea like that I had of myself. Bride.
And then we also married like older men. So I look at Dave and I look at me on the pictures. I'm like, oh, I was such a baby.
I used to be so sensitive to all the like comments about our age gap and you know all these things, and now I agree. I look at the pictures, I'm like, like, this is disturbing. I get it. Oh my god. Speaking of things that you don't like, you mentioned like when people waste other people's time. There are certain things that I hate, but I pretend to like them just because they're socially acceptable. And these are the most random things, Isabella. The first thing is saying goodbye when I'm leaving. I hate it.
I hate it too.
Because I already made a decision to leave the room.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a big deal. I just want to like...
Yeah. But do you say goodbye? Most of the time I don't. I'm just like sneak out.
Like,
because otherwise people are like, no, stay 5 more minutes, stay 10 more minutes. And if I'm checked out, I'm checked out. Yeah.
Once I made a decision that I'm out. But you see, I think for me socially, I'm like, oh, I can't do that because then people are...
If it's a small group, I do say bye. But if it's a big group, I'm always think nobody's going to notice that I left.
But nobody notices. And if they notice, you're like, oh, I waved to you. You didn't see.
And especially in the club, I would never say bye because in the club, I feel like everybody's having fun and dancing. And suddenly, like if I go and say, hey, I'm going to sleep, they're like, okay, end of the party.
Yeah.
So like, I can't.
Damping the mood. I agree.
So I just sneak out.
Another thing, I don't know if you had one, bridal shower. What the fuck is that?
Mine was really fun. I love
mine. Wait. You're
like a bridal shower, like a
bridal shower. Oh, like gender reveal, bridal shower.
Reveal, yeah, but bridal shower, mine was so much fun.
No, but you did it the Brazilian. You probably just threw a party.
Oh my god! Like it's bad to say, but while I was getting dressed for my bridal shower, I was drinking rosé with my best friend. So I'm drinking. So the moment I went downstairs, it was in my house.
Mm-hmm.
The moment I went downstairs, I was already so drunk, and my grandma was there. She was drunk. Everybody was like laughing so hard. Like I have videos of me crawling and being like, "Hey guys," like trying to talk to people, but like,
Okay, but
but
that's
it
a
was
different kind
really
of party. Have you
fun.
been to like an official bridal shower? Because that's the ones that I was exposed to when I moved to North America, so Canada. They're very like proper.
Proper? Oh no, I never been to a proper one. Maybe like mine.
Oh my God.
Maybe the ones I go to are like too
No,
ratchet.
the ones
Like,
you go to, yeah, that I support.
yeah.
That I can imagine the Brazilian way. But the same with gender reveal. I don't get it. I don't get it.
No, gender review is tough. Because also like the woman always kind of like has a little choice. They kind like, even though they say, "Oh, I don't mind if it's a boy or girl," but they kind of want a girl, or they want to like, and then you can see the upsetment, like how
You see it
upset they
in
get.
the faces.
And then I feel really bad.
And then with the funniest things to me is to read, it's really sad, but it's to read the news that it's like, I don't know, something caught on fire and trees were burned because of it, like, because people go all out for the gender reveal if it's
Oh,
balloons or
yeah.
fireworks. And I'm just
Oh my
like,
God.
this is,
Like I'm basic, you know me. I like, let's just do a cake, or do
Yes.
the balloon boom. That's it.
keep it simple.
Like keep it simple. Why everything has to be so over the top?
But I think that's why you're so good with social events. Like I get anxiety with social events, especially if like I need to host. Like the reason why you're the first time in my house is I can't even tell you how many times in my head I'm like, I'm gonna throw like a nice girls' dinner and I'm gonna invite, people that I love. Probably I thought about it this year alone 10 times. But just that thinking about it, I start going into like over analyzing mode.
Overanalyzing.
What are we gonna eat, and what is this, and what is this doesn't work, and what if it rains, and what if the chairs are not like stupid
Really?
shit.
I'm the opposite. I'm like, okay, like if there's no food, let's order takeout. I think you have to, maybe because of your mom, like she always does
Yes.
everything so perfect and they
Yes.
cater this and that. Like you overthink things, but sometimes like the most fun nights is like if you order takeout and pop up a glass
It's
of
always
wine.
the fun nights, yeah,
Like,
where everyone
and then
don't
that's it.
feel like the pressure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Or
takeout.
even like I went to a friend's house the other day and they didn't have any help, but they still had like a meal for us for dinner. And then in the end, I was taking out the plates and I was helping the husband like to take the plates out and then clean up the table. And he's like, "You don't have to do that." I'm like, "I'm so happy to do that. So don't overthink. Like
I
we can
know,
always
it
help.
feels, I know.
We all can wash a plate.
Okay, we're doing a takeout dinner.
And then we
clean
can
up
just like
after.
order Uber Eats or like whatever it is. Or tell me and I'll bring food.
You're doing so many things with Rangel, with Isa, all the things. Because the clothing, the brand came first before the jewelry.
The clothing came first. So I studied fashion design. And I used to live in South Africa and then I studied fashion design. But then I went back to modeling. So I didn't do anything with the degree and I kept going with my life. And then during COVID, I got a sewing machine to make my girls' dresses. And I started
Stop, I
like
didn't
cutting
know
it.
that.
Yeah, so I would make the pattern, buy fabrics online because it was COVID, so
Yeah.
everything was closed. But there was this company online that was organic fabrics that would just ship it right to my door. So I was making the girls' clothes, and then people would like be like, "Oh my God, this is so cute! Like you should make more of it." So I started the company, but I was like, I don't want to just make kids' clothes. I want to make women's wear as well because there's something about like clothing and confidence. And I'm always about like giving women the power, the confidence. Let's go, So started like that, and then now I'm much more focused on women's wear for now because my kids, all they want to wear is like jeans and crop tops, and that's not inspiring to me right now. And then I always had a big passion for jewelry, so that's how I created Isabela Grutman. And like I love it. I love the part of the store in the design industry. I love just creating. I love to go to the factory. I'm going to the factory after here because I have to pick up a ring that I can't wait. Like everything is so exciting to me.
Isa Grutman is like, I was waiting for that to happen. I mean, the brand is beautiful. You can tell that you're creating something that you would wear and that you love.
Yeah.
And you've always been known for your jewelry in general, even before, you know, you started your own. Like you will always be decked out with the coolest jewelry because you are the queen of layering for sure.
Thank you.
So it was just a matter of time until the jewelry came out. But, you know, with clothes, like, you know that I had the brand and like we connected on like how complicated and like draining it could be.
Yeah.
But do you feel the same way with the jewelry? Like,
so
do you have...
jewelry is not as draining as clothing.
Yeah.
The clothing for me, like we talk about it so many times, but the clothing, like I feel like everything goes wrong at all times. Like I always tell my girls, what's the issue of the day? Because a fabric like that I ordered and it's ready, it's not being shipped because of some kind of delay, or the factory is not working for a whole week because of a holiday that they, and I'm like, okay, I have to deliver this, I have to or even a piece that I'm like, oh, this is gonna be amazing, and it comes back and it's terrible. I'm like, get this out of my face, you know. So it's a little harder when you're working with jewelry, you know, it's gold, diamonds, stones. So and then also I sketch, or I tell them the concept and I create CADs. So I create the CADs. When I send it to the factory knows exactly the measurements of everything. That like everything is like on the computer already. Yeah. So the sample comes back to me, and maybe out of like 10 samples, 8 are perfect. So it's not
there's no space for error. Everything is so precise.
Everything is very precise and very like well thought. Like I feel like the clothing industry, everything is a little more fast paced, and they're like, okay, I have to make a pant, and like it doesn't matter if it's. And I've tried to do like the samples in the office. Like I had the seamstress with me. I tried to do all the other directions, but it still doesn't come out straight away as the first sample. Like I have to go through like 4 or 5 samples to get the perfect.
Literally have PTSD.
Yeah. And then like a production can come back and it's wrong. And I'm like, what do you mean? You didn't add the pocket. Like it's very clear. And, you know, so a lot of mistakes happen at all times.
How do you...
But I love it. And I'm like...
you obviously... You gotta love it if you're doing it. That's like, the... People don't understand.
That I can, and it's doing great. Now I'm at Revolve and Shop Up, and they selling really well. So I'm like... Every time I'm like, oh, I'm so stressed. I hate that. Like something great comes out. And I'm like, okay, I can't give up. I can like... get upset. I have to keep going.
So what is how do you handle with disappointment? Because I feel like you also have a very high standard for yourself and like the work that you put out there. And we know that in an industry like that, I mean, listen, sometimes it's more important to just get things out rather than sit and wait for it to be perfect, because it's very difficult to get there.
100%.
So how do you kind of deal with this inability to make everything look and feel exactly the way you want it?
Yeah. I also I started being more like flexible in a way that's like, okay, I always say to my girls, like, if I would buy it, we're gonna put it out. If I'm not buying it, let's not put it out. So I'm more like flexible in the way that's like, even if this sample costs me a certain amount of money and I still don't like it, I don't put it out. I'm like, scratch it, like get it out of my face. And the girls know now to not try to like, okay, but let's try with another pocket. Let's try with another fabric. Like if I say it's no, it's a no. Let's think of something else.
Did it take you a long time to develop these like executive leadership skills? I'm
still learning a lot on like the executive. It's hard like handling people. I used to be much more patient. I think I'm a little more firm now. But my girls know, like, for example, I have a word in the office that I say execute. When they start to like, oh, this is not possible, I'm like, execute.
Yeah.
And they do.
Yeah.
In the end, they execute. So it's like sometimes I just need to be a little more like firm. Like, I know it's possible. I'm not asking you to like make a unicorn with like sprinkles. Like, it's possible. Just do it.
I think it's very motivating. I mean, you live by this rule. And first of all, you know, the way you are, it gives examples to the people around you, people that work for you, your friends, everybody. But it's also important to be, that's what I've learned, at least throughout the years, you know, building our company, is that leadership is not hand holding. It's actually showing them their strengths and how capable they are.
That's great.
Because then they become so much better as humans themselves, you know? It's like you're stretching them to a point of like discomfort.
Yeah.
But that's when the magic happens.
Yeah.
For everybody.
And then they can see it's possible. So then for the next time, they're not like, oh, like this is too, you know, like everything is possible. You just have to try, and then get it done.
Yeah. I wonder how much has Dave inspired you in business.
Yeah.
I know for me, I've learned so much because when I got with Gary, I was very young. Yes, I traveled, I left home early, but I really didn't have an understanding of how to talk to people, how to handle difficult conversations, like a lot of things that I just didn't have experience in. How much did you learn?
So David he works 24/7 every day, and being around him, I kind of had to take that. I'm like, I have to open companies, I have to keep going. And then he used to involve me in every single thing for the company, like come to this meeting with me, come to that. And then I was like, okay, like I'm already working, might as well just do things that it's my passion too, right? So that's how I started everything. And I remember having the first conversation with him about Rangel. And I was like, I don't know if it's going to work. Like, I never opened a company before. And he said to me, it doesn't hurt to try. Like, everybody has failed before in their lives. Everybody has like opened something or closed something. Like, it's okay. It's part of the growing. It's part of like your learning too. And he's like, for him, he actually became really successful when he was like 43, 42 years old. So it took me many years to try different things, to like, you know, go through all different process, like working for somebody, doing this, doing that, to like, okay, now the company is doing really well, or everything like that. So it's very inspiring to me to see what he like has done, but I know that it's not easy. So like looking at him, I'm like, okay, I understand why you scream. I understand why you're stressed.
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
There's a saying that like a success story is a collection of many failures.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is exactly. And once you figure that out, your life actually becomes so much easier.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of us don't execute from that debilitating fear of failure and have it imperfect.
Yeah.
Where in reality, execution, it's like one failure at a time until
and
it's
you
just
learn so much from
work.
it, right?
Yeah.
Like everything that you go through, like I haven't like failed, but every difficulty, every like hard day, or everything that like doesn't come out as I planned, like I learned something from it. And I think it's a great thing, you know. People don't have to be so like focused on the success from day one. Like things take time.
I actually started looking at success, like this immediate success, as kind of a curse, because if you are successful out the gate, kind of the next step is
to keep it up.
It's to keep it up. And it's inevitable for you to go down. And I feel like the landing is much harder. It's better to go from the bottom, you know, up than the other way around.
It looks like it's more consistent too, right? When it goes up, it's like it stays.
It's one thing to start something when you kind of don't really have a name for yourself. It's a different thing to start something when you already have a brand, like you and David have a brand, you know. And I feel like then it even more amplified of like it has to work.
Yeah.
Did you have that?
Yes, but to be honest, I was like, it's okay. It's
Mm.
okay. You know, like, for example, like during like our whole life, like he opened restaurants that do really well, but then he opened a restaurant that we thought would do really well and it didn't. So
Yeah.
like in between there's like success and failure,
So
it's
you just saw
okay.
the journey.
I'm like, I see the journey, and I was like, I'm still very passionate about everything I'm creating. So I'm like, and I don't have to rush to be successful straight away. I'm like, it's okay to grow and like slowly, but the jewelry brand is growing really fast,
Well,
much
babe, that
faster
was,
than the clothing brand.
but because
So
that was truly, it was meant to happen for you.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everyone were waiting when you came out with the brand. Like, obviously, like, it's
yeah,
about time.
that's so
So
cute.
it's very cool that through, also honestly, through building Rangel, you learned so much about the process
Yeah,
and yourself as a creative
yeah,
that you were able to implement
for
and move
sure,
differently with the jewelry.
for sure. And the jewelry, people say to me all the time, like it's like I found my, what does it say when it's like when you know your roots, like when
Like your
you find
destiny,
yeah,
your calling.
yeah, my calling.
Yes.
They always say when they see me in the store, they're like, oh, you found your calling.
Yes.
But it's true because like I thrive when I'm like touching jewelry. I thrive.
Yeah. Well, even when you speak about it, you're like,
Yeah,
you get giddy.
I don't know. It's because everybody's like that, like diamonds and gold and stones and
Girls'
like
best friends.
timeless. Like I love it.
How does it work with now having two entrepreneurs in a household? Because I think that a lot of people have one or the other. You know, it's either the wife or the husband. Not happen. Maybe in your circles, and honestly, in
Yeah.
our circles, both work.
Yeah.
But mostly, it's not. It's
Yeah.
kind of one has to choose.
100%. Most of my friends is like one or the other. Dave has been very supportive always. He, of course, sometimes he says to me like, I miss you. Why you always like in your office? Why, you know, like why you work so hard? But in the same time, he's so proud of me. And like he pushes me. Like when he sees like a friend that hasn't bought from my jewelry, he's like, okay, why you never bought anything from Isabella? Like he says straight away to people.
I love it though, so blunt.
Yeah, it's sweet. So I think he's very proud of like everything I'm creating. So it's not we not competitive at all. Like you know, some couples can be competitive. Like we're not competitive. But also I think that I always keep him in like the king of the house.
Yeah.
And then there's me. So I think that's one trick, ladies. Always make your man feel like they always the head of the house.
That is so interesting. I 100% agree with you. I think when the kind of, how do you call it? The clash happens when it's an ego game,
Yeah.
right? And smart women, even for yourself, you want to regard your man as like, you know, a big, powerful entity in the house.
Yes, 100%.
And it doesn't take away anything from you at all.
Yeah.
Did it take you time to figure out, or is that
No,
something that just naturally came?
I always had that feeling in my head that like maybe it's the way I grew up. Like my parents are divorced, but my dad was always like the head of it, you know, the whole family. So I think it's important, like men, they grow up like that, right? Like they're ones that take care of everything. So that's why we don't compete so much, because I always make sure that he knows he's the king.
You're a priority
And
for
then
everybody. Yeah,
I'm
there's
here.
a hierarchy.
Yeah.
And that should be in a household. I didn't grow up like that, so it actually took me time it took me time to really learn how to where to let go and where to find my kind of, you know, ground in the household. I think I chose Gary for a specific reason because he has a very powerful masculine energy.
Yeah.
So, and he knows when to be like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, you need to check yourself. I really much appreciate that because I'm like my mother, where if you don't keep me in line, I will walk all over you. It's true.
But you know, I think it's okay for a woman to be strong and to say what they want and what they expect.
Absolutely.
But also I think it's important for the man to feel like a man.
Yeah.
You know?
Trust me. Well, the way we had this whole conversation about like alpha and beta, and I was like, I don't know if that really, that specific definition doesn't fit the time anymore, because it's, a woman to me is an alpha whether you have a career or not, because you're truly running the household either way. So I feel like that doesn't, it's not a good description. But yeah, it's like this fluid partnership with this feeling of, you know, the man still feeling like he runs the household is so
100%.
important.
But everybody knows that the woman's the one that runs everything anyway.
Well, I wonder if there's a saying in for Brazilians, but for Russians it's like the woman is the neck.
Yeah.
And the neck, it holds the head and makes sure it moves around.
And also make sure the man is not looking sideways.
The neck is a stiff neck that only
the Russian girls make sure that they're not like looking.
That there's one hand on the neck in case it goes.
Just in case. I always say to Dave, don't look left, don't look right. Just look straight and walk in a like straight line. Everything is going to be fine. So that's it.
That is hilarious. There's also, I think, a misconception, because I see it a lot on TikTok. A lot of young women that are looking for high value men. A lot of the high value men is also men that are successful, that are entrepreneurs, that, you know, creating their own something. And I truly don't think girls understand what it means to be married and live with an entrepreneur. It's a whole other animal.
Yeah.
And
because the thing is, they don't have the 9-to-5 job, right? Like my husband, he picked, like someone was actually calling him at 2 a.m. last night. I should have checked who he was, but like it's constantly like phone calls and emails, and it's like even on vacation he's working. Like when you have your own business, you can take like
there's no
a week off. There's no, and I think that's what people don't understand when you're entrepreneur, when it's everything on you.
What are some other lessons you've learned throughout your marriage of like things that maybe from the outside people will kind of see it as a red flag, but you understand that this is a non-negotiable for you two as an individual to like, you know, make your marriage work?
Yeah, I think for us it's very important to like not give up, you know, like everybody has like ups and downs. So, but we always say when it's down, we work on it. Like, is it therapy? Is it like we sit down and have a conversation? Like, and it's just the not giving up. I think everybody now like takes marriages and relationships, everything too disposable.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, like you're annoying me. Like, for example, like lately he's like on my neck and I'm like, he's so annoying. But then in the same time, like, I had to have a talk with him and be like, okay, you're going crazy. You being annoying. And then he was like, you being annoying. And then he's like, and then in the end we were kissing and making out. It's like all good. But it's just the not giving up and not like letting that go and being like, okay, let me go another direction. You know, fighting for it.
For me, there's also a level of like not, and it requires a lot of self-awareness, but not taking everything personally.
Yeah.
When you have an entrepreneur in the household, there's so many things that are constantly moving and shaking, and their mood changing, the way they speak 100%. Changes. And I think it's a recipe for failure when you're the kind of wife, girlfriend, whatever, that thinks it's about her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Don't take it like personal.
Yeah. So that communication is extremely important. How long have you been married now?
10 years.
9
years married, 10 years together.
Okay. So did you already get to, which doesn't happen necessarily every X amount of years, but I call it the renegotiating the contract.
This 7-year situation.
It's like 7 years, but I have to say it really depends on kind of your evolution, your personal evolution.
Yeah.
But I remember when my friend told me about it, it blew my mind. I remember even talking about it with Melissa. She's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
The whole concept of when we get married, to say that the way we are now is going to be the same for the rest of my life. Like the way I was at 21 is obviously not who I am at 34. And my needs and wants and expectations changes all the time. and it's my responsibility to communicate it to my husband, because otherwise there's a disconnect. So, you know, there's this renegotiating the contract where you sit down and you're like, hey, this used to be something I wanted, I no longer want it. This used to be something I didn't care about, and now I care about it. So a silly example was on Valentine's Day when Gary didn't get me flowers. And he used to get me flowers every year. And I always, babe, for years, I've been like, I don't care about flowers. I don't care about it. You know, because I truly didn't care. And this one year, he didn't bring me flowers. And at first, I made a joke out of it. I was like, you see this beautiful invisible bouquet you brought me? It's so gorgeous.
That was so funny.
And he's like, haha. And then at night, I sat down and I'm like, no, the next morning, I sat down and I was like, when you do nice stuff for me, like buying me flowers, did I ever make you feel like I don't appreciate it? And he's like, what are you talking about? And all of a sudden, I'm like, because I really wanted flowers and you didn't bring me flowers. Yeah. And he's like, oh my God, it's been years. You keep telling me you don't want flowers. Shit. And all of a sudden you want flowers? I'm like, yes, I'm renegotiating the terms. I want flowers. Because it's true. Last year I didn't care. Now I care. And I want you to know that I care.
Because you like tradition. You like things
this
that
year,
it's done.
Valeria likes tradition. I told him next year I might
always
not.
like tradition.
Yeah.
I always like say to him, I want a card. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't need to have a gift. Like, gift doesn't matter. It's about a card and flowers or whatever it is. But it's about a date, you know, like that. For me, like, it's very important, like a touch, like a hug. Like, that's my love language. Like, I want.
But did you ever do, as younger Isabela, did you have to like sit down with David and be like, hey, now I want this, you know, where you change your mind on things that used to be?
So me and Dave, we don't fight so much. And then we don't do like the talks here and there about relationship. We go full like the house is burning down. And then we have to like review what's going on. And then that's the rewriting of the contract, being like, okay, what are we doing wrong? What should we do better? Like then, but we had that at 7 years.
7 years.
7 years was hard. It took us a year to like, okay, we gone through, and then now it's amazing. But sometimes you need that.
It's so important to talk about it, because that's 100%. Where the breaks happen. And so many people leave really great relationships because of moments like this, where they don't understand that that's happens. And I call it's between 7 to 10 years. For us, it was 10 years. The 7 to 10 years, it's a roller coaster.
A roller coaster.
And it's
that's what I always say. Like marriages is like roller coaster.
Yeah, and you have to make sure that you want to stay on, and 100%. You know, you're holding on through the through the ups and downs.
But I always say when it's really low, it goes really high, and it's amazing.
Yes, well, always. Listen, if you stick to something long enough, you get all the benefits.
But sometimes you have to go down to go up, right?
Yes. Let's talk about the whole mom mode to hot girl mode, because I do think that a lot of my Miami girls just really know how to do it. You're one of them, where you're a mom, you're dedicated, you know, you're amazing with your 2 girls.
Thank you.
And then you just kind of turn on the like
at nighttime.
She's like coming out. And I think that for a lot of women, for a lot of women, it's really hard to switch and not feel guilty. You know,
I always think, like, because sometimes people are like, oh, she's a mom, like, and I'm like, okay, but Emily Rata is killing it.
True.
And she's a mom, and she's a hot mom. So sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just a mom, and I'm like, oh, she can do it, I'll do it too.
Yes.
So I think it's just like taking care of yourself and feeling good, and I just show up for it. I'm like, I always say to my friends, like, I want to be like Cher. It's not even about like being a mom, it's about like aging, but still like showing up what you got. My mom never like said no because of us. She would always be like, yeah, I'll bring my kids though. Like, like we used to like sleep on a bar on the chairs.
Oh my
Did you
God,
do that
yes,
too?
Of course.
My mom one time, she like planned this whole like party that she was selling tickets for. Like she planned a whole party selling tickets, and then she put us to give the flyers for the party.
I remember. That's
Like,
so
never
sweet.
stop her. She
Yeah.
kind of like now says that, oh, but because of you guys, I didn't do this. I'm like, I don't remember that. I remember
You did a lot.
you, and you made us do it too. But she's amazing.
Oh, that's really special. Like if you would ask your girls in 20 years, let's say, if you could define your mom in 3 words, what would it be? Like, what would you want those words to be?
So I want them to definitely say that I help others. So it's very important to me that they see that I have this style saves with Rachel, the nonprofit. So it's very important that they know their mom is charitable, like that I'm very focused on helping the community, and also that I'm strong, that I can do anything. Like we had situations, for example, like I don't know if you know that story, but we got robbed in Brazil by gunpoint, and I handled the whole thing myself.
No,
I
can you tell the story?
Oh
Because you
my, I
told it
never
at
told
dinner
that
and
story
I was
before.
freaking out.
I never told that story before. I was in Brazil with my dad and my nephew and my 2 girls, and we were waiting outside for the school bus for my nephew. So we were sitting on the sidewalk, and I'm looking away, like just in front of the house. And then when I look forward, there was a guy with a gun in my head. And he says to me, like, everybody goes inside right now. So then we all walk in, and I see there's 4 guys inside the house, and all with guns, and they're looking around because my dad is a civil engineer, so he built a beautiful home. But in the same time, he has no luxury. Like, he's a farmer, like he doesn't care about anything. They're looking around, so I go to the robbers and I was like, hey, so can we all sit down? They're gonna sit here, and then also, like, you guys want cash, right? And they're like, yeah. So I was like, okay, but you got to do my way. You guys come with me. I'll give you the cash that I have, but you guys going to run out of here really fast. I don't want you touching anybody. I don't want anything to go wrong. I don't want any cops showing up, and you don't want it either, because like we're going to do this really fast. So then we go upstairs to my room, and my dad is with the kids downstairs sitting on the couch with a guy holding a gun towards them. So we go upstairs. I give them all the cash, because I had cash in my bag, like a little envelope. Cutting the story short, the neighbor's son was also waiting for the school bus, so he saw the whole thing. So he goes inside, tells his mom. His mom is crazy. She started screaming, robbers, robbers, the cops are coming, the cops are coming. And then they heard it. So then they just was like, they took the envelope and they like were like, okay, we gotta go. And then they left. But my kids saw the whole thing.
Oh my God.
How I handle being like, so every time that they're scared, I tell them like, you know how mommy is. I take care of everything. Like,
oh my God.
I'll organize a crime. I don't care. I'll be like, you
Mommy
put your
will
gun
figure
down.
it out.
Let's go. Like,
I mean, you are very calm and collected, but I don't know. In that situation, I would.
so you don't like, I never thought of how I would handle, but I think because the kids were there, I had to stay composed, and they were asking me questions like, what is happening? What's happening? And then I kept saying to them, all they want is money. And then I remember of the cash that I had in my bag. So the whole time it was just like my brain working, like, what's the best way that I can do this? And I told the robbers, I was like, my kids are asking questions. I don't want to deal with trauma.
Yeah.
So help me out here. I'll help you. You get out, and then we'll be fine.
Oh my God.
So it's just about like my brain working the way that's like, what's the best way that my kids and my nephew and my dad will be comfortable, and then we'll do it, and then get out.
That's insane.
Yeah.
You.
Sorry, I threw that story out there.
No, you told me the story
but it just
before,
reminded
but
me
it's
because you
just-
asked like how I want my kids to know.
I
Like,
mean,
to see.
that's
I
a
want them to
pretty
know
good-
mommy can like.
I'm sure that they'll remember that forever, for sure. It's
Do
something.
you feel like you're a girl or you're a woman? Like,
That's such an interesting question you're asking me. So I had a realization very recently where I'm like, oh my God, I'm not a girl.
I feel like I'm still a girl.
But I'm,
When
well,
do
and
you
then I started
change?
singing, I'm not a girl, not yet a woman. Like, that's what's in my head, because I also don't see myself as a woman. And it's like I'm in this in between where I'm asking myself, how do I connect to that woman? Because I
Yeah.
don't feel like one.
I feel like I'm still a girl too. Like, even though I have responsibilities and I'm like, I am a woman, I'm 33 years old, but I still feel like I'm just a girl.
No, we honestly, we all are. You know, I went on vacation with my mom and I was just kind of looking at her. She was doing her hair and putting her makeup. And I'm like, she's just a girl.
That's cute.
It's so, I cried. It was so
Aw.
emotional because we lose sight of that like innocence and just, you know, just existence without
Yeah.
needing to prove and do and, you know, all the things.
Yeah.
I hope I'll always remind myself of that. I think kids are very good at that. You know, to have kids around
Yeah.
reminds you.
But my kids think I'm the oldest woman in the whole world.
No, 100%.
They think I'm like a grandma.
I love this conversation. I feel like I started very...
We're so relaxed right now. I feel like
Yeah,
this is
I know,
great.
me too. This I was about to say. I feel like so it was like such a great conversation.
I had a crazy morning this morning.
Yeah.
And then I got here and I was like, okay, let's go. We have an hour. And then I don't even know what's the time.
We're doing
Yeah.
great. No,
Thank
honestly,
you.
I had the best time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I know I'm always like, you know, want to make sure that, especially with you, because different people open up in different ways.
Yeah.
And when you sit down with somebody we've been sitting for an hour and a half.
Oh my
and
God.
it felt like 15 minutes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because it was,
yeah,
you know,
it was so good.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you so much.
appreciate
And I
it.
just have to say one thing that I said to you on your birthday is every time I talk to Valeria, not just here, I always learn something from you. So thank you for being that friend.
Thank you. Love it. Thank you, honey. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't miss my newest episode right here. And if you're listening to the podcast on Apple or Spotify, please go and leave a review with your biggest takeaway. I love reading your thoughts. They inspire me. So if you have any suggestions for guests or topics, you can leave them in the comment section. And always, always remember, you are not alone.